Hello everybody, it's me, Riley, aka Honey Rags, and I'm a full-time reseller. I resell clothing, vintage, anything I can really get my hands on. But I'm focusing on clothing and vintage right now just because it's more fun. So anyway, I'm obviously, as you can see in the title, I'm doing a haul video. What's different about this haul video is I'm actually going to take you guys thrift shopping with me. So hopefully I find some stuff, or else I'm not really going to have a video to show you. But I am going to a Goodwill that restocks very often. It's a really big Goodwill. There's always some new racks out. I usually always walk out with something. So I think it'll be fun just to bring you guys with me. I've done this like once or twice before. But yeah, I just want to bring you guys with me and kind of show you what I keep my eyes out for. Maybe I'll do a voiceover. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see how it goes. I am bringing my two youngest children with me, so it'll be a little chaotic, I'm sure, at least on my end, maybe not for you guys, but at the end of this video, you may see me with like an eyebrow rubbed off, contacts out, my hair up, I might be a little sweaty, because yeah, it's not really fun taking kids thrift shopping, but I have to do it, or else I really wouldn't have a job or be able to sustain my business. So anyway, let's go and let's cross our fingers that I find something. Okay, so I am at the drive-thru at Tim Hortons. I'm just gonna get some coffee real quick to fuel myself before I take these crazy animals thrifting with me. As you can see, I already had an outfit change before I even left the house because I was sweating. I'm sure you can relate if you have nieces and nephews or kids yourself. By the time you're done getting your kids ready to leave, you don't even want to leave anymore. I mean, it was a rough start. We had a rough start, but hopefully the rest of the trip is better. My son's saying hi. Mom. Okay, so this isn't totally related to the rest of my video, obviously, but the lady at Tim Hortons had to have sensed my impending stress with taking my kids thrift shopping and trying to film a video at the same time, because she put globs of cream cheese on my bagel. Like, globs of cream cheese. Okay, so I'm sure you guys already know this, but it's nice to check the new bins just because it hasn't, nothing's been picked over. Unfortunately for me, I usually just find a lot of junk in the new bins. If I see like a pair of shoes or purses sticking out, I'll try to look through them, but as you guys can tell in the video, it's usually just a bunch of junk that I don't really like digging through. On to the glassware. I started with reselling Pyrex and Fire King and Fiesta and all that type of things. So obviously I like to look for those classic high ticket items. I usually don't find them. So I do like looking at the porcelain. I don't know a lot about like Edwardian or Victorian porcelain. I know it's worth a lot, but I'm not very familiar with my stamps. I know if it says made in Japan, it's probably before 1950, maybe around there. I used to be way better at this, but I've been doing clothes for a year now, so. Then I look over at the mugs, and I'm usually keeping my eye out for like a vintage Fire King mug, vintage Fire King milk glass mug, or any type of milk glass mug that's vintage usually does pretty well. Onto the shoes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best at identifying shoes and sourcing shoes. I have to do a lot of comp searching when I'm looking at shoes. Unlike clothing, I can usually go through the racks pretty quickly. Shoes usually take me a little bit longer. I basically just look for style and quality. If it looks, if it's something that says made in Italy, usually I'll look up the comps. So these are Lauren Ralph Lauren's. They were pretty new. They still had like the TJ Maxx tag, but they wanted $8 for them, so I passed. If they would have been like at the bins, I would have probably picked them up, but not for $8. I always, those looked fancy, but I don't think they were anything good. They were also pretty old. I always look at the bottoms of boots, as you're about to see, but 99 out of 100 times when I pick out a pair of boots, they're like Rue 21 or Charlotte Russe boots. I'm always hoping for like a fry. Is that what you call them? Frye, but that never happens. These were some Stuart Weitzmans, but they were a little beat up. And then I found these Stuart Weitzman loafers. So these are newer. I was really excited to find those. I always go through the blazers first. I'm always hoping to find, high-end career. I love selling career.
I look for like, you know, Lafayette 148, that type of thing. Lauren Ralph Lauren blazers seem to do pretty well, although they're not super high end. I find a lot of, oh, here's a BCBG Max Sasria blazer, which I probably could have bought and sold, but they're just such a hit or miss brand for me. This is a brand I'd never heard of. It sounded decent, Mac and Jack. I did a really quick comp search and it seemed all over the place, so I just left it behind. I was in a hurry, as you guys can tell. I'm also always keeping my eye out for vintage blazers because I'm a sucker for vintage blazers. That was a Pendleton. I do pick up Pendleton if it's a unique style or like a Pendleton trench. This was just a weird eclectic brand. I didn't even comp search. Like Angelique or something like that. Seemed like maybe it was 90s. I have no idea, honestly. And I spotted a Levi Stratus jacket, which came home with me, and you guys will see later in the video. So then I always move from blazers to dresses. I'm always secretly hoping to find a really high-end designer dress or like a vintage flapper dress. This is a Lily Pulitzer that you'll also see later in the video. Anyways, back to the vintage dresses. I am a sucker for like 1920s, 1930s. I love drop waist dresses and I never find them. I'm just gonna have to break down and buy one from someone else who resells vintage clothing because I'm always on the lookout for one for myself, basically. I'm obsessed with that decade like most people are. You think Gatsby. Oh, this was a Boston Proper and it was new with tags, but the tags looked janky, so I don't know. Boston Proper is a pretty good brand to resell if it's a certain style, but that one was just plain pink and boring, so I didn't really want to take my chances. I am not going to lie, I don't always go through the purses. I never find good purses. I mean, as far as like designer end purses, I've only found a couple at that were real at a Goodwill. This was a Lucky brand tote that you'll also see later in the video. I do keep my eye out for vintage purses as well, like dainty ones. Oh, this was a really fake Prada. So this is like my favorite pastime, to find like the fakest knockoff counterfeit that I can possibly find. I love when you find like a Prada too, because like they're the worst. Going through the purses. With these, I'm really not looking for a label. I'm really mostly feeling quality with my hands. Unless I'm looking for vintage, I'll look for style. But for the most part, when it comes to purses, I'm really just feeling the weight of the bags. So, you know, I'm obsessed with honeybees. That's why I'm honey rags. I'm all into saving the bees. I jumped on that bandwagon. So I'm really sad I didn't get that cute little side purse. That one was Simply Vera, and it felt decent. So I was disappointed when I opened it up and saw that. Oh, knockoff Chanel. I think every 2007 12-year-old wanted one of those at the time. Yeah, as you guys can see, it wasn't the best.
Now I have a haul to show you guys from my trip. I did have to stop the video footage after the dresses, which is kind of disappointing. My almost 2-year-old son was just absolutely freaking out and not making it easy for me at all. I also want to do another little disclaimer. Normally when I go thrifting, I'll find lots of 80s and 90s vintage. I mean, it's Goodwill. You're going to find things, old things that people are donating that they no longer use. I normally don't find this much cool like 50s, 60s, and 70s stuff. This was definitely like a fault in the stars or whatever you want to call it, that this happened right before I did a haul video. So I'm going to try to whip through these. So excuse me if I'm talking a little quickly. This is a Neon Buddha, which is one of those bread and butter activewear yoga brands. It's not really talked about a whole lot in the reseller community, but it's always been a pretty solid seller for me, and I swear by the brand. Cardigan, I'll probably list around 25. This is a Michael by Michael Kors. I don't always pick up. Usually when I find this, I just pass, but this is like an equestrian chain link style pattern, which people love, and the Michael Kors like equestrian style things seem to move pretty well for me, so I'm probably going to list that around 25 as well. This is actually for me, but I have to show you guys because it's really cute. It's like halogen, which I feel like is maybe like a JCPenney brand, I don't know. But I love mock necks and I just like the dainty pattern. This is another one for me, so I'm just going to throw that over there. This is a Soft Surroundings cold shoulder top. Now it's pretty simple, but Soft Surroundings is a solid seller for me over on eBay. I don't sell it for top dollar, but I'm sure I'll be able to sell this around $20 because it is like a nice, thick, really comfy sweater. Oh, this is my favorite find. So this is a vintage Just Tops of California. I really wish I could try this on for you guys, but it's about 6 sizes too small for me. It's like a cropped vintage, what I want to say 60s blouse, maybe early 70s, not totally sure. I'm obsessed with this. I'll probably list this over on Etsy around $40, to be honest. You guys know I have a love-hate relationship with J. Jill, which I say all the time, but I have noticed that the Love Linen J. Jill does pretty well. So I picked up this really simple cardigan, probably gonna list it on eBay around like $17. Last one I sold was a navy cardigan on eBay for around that price. So confident that I can move it. This is my first time hearing of this brand, and I did a really quick comp search because, like I said, my kids were freaking out. Tizzy, which I think is an Australian brand, but I almost didn't pick this up, but something told me, just because it feels pretty nice quality, that it was something I should look into. I think the comps are like maybe around 20 to 30, not totally sure. I have to look into that more. So this is a brand I personally love. It's Dolan, sometimes Dolan Left Coast Collection. Usually the Dolan is like, usually this is a gray tag. So I don't know, this is like a different line of Dolan. But it reminds me of like Johnny Was, because it's embroidered. I'll probably list this around $25. On to some of the vintage finds. So this is a vintage like plaid, really cute, just like summer day dress. Usually it's a dead giveaway when something's vintage, usually by the material, but also the tag. Not totally sure on the year. I'm thinking this is from the 70s. I could be wrong. This is also a plus size, which is great. I feel like plus size vintage moves well for me too. This is vintage. I thought about putting this one back. I'm not completely in love with it. It's pretty simple, but I think I could model this one pretty cute and maybe put it on Etsy around like $25. This is also vintage. This isn't really, maybe this is, oh, I can't tell. I think this is like 90s, but it's just got a really cool like neutral jungle print with these really weird looking apes on it. I'll probably list that around 20 bucks. This is a Levi Stratus corduroy jacket. I can't say no to Levi jackets. I do think this one will do well around $30 or $40. It's really heavy, really nice. This is a Nike golf skirt that I probably paid too much for because I paid $4 for it. But it is plus size, and Nike golf moves well for me. I don't usually pick up Nike, but Nike golf is definitely one of my brands that I look out for. And I really like the gingham picnic pattern of this, so I think that one will do well. Maybe around like 15 or 20. This is another vintage one. I forgot that I had vintage blouses like this. I don't know, I think this is 90s as well. But it was $3. I'll probably list it around 20. As you guys can see, like with the $20 vintage blouses, unless I'm getting them like from the bins, I don't have a huge profit on each one, but they are a nice bread and butter item for me. So this one you might see on the video. It's a Lily Pulitzer, and the sad thing about this one is that it doesn't have the Lily Pulitzer print. You know, when you think of Lily Pulitzer, you think of like that very classic signature tropical bright print, and this one does not have it. So I'm not expecting a whole lot out of this one, but I do have, I want to look up the comps on this style dress before I throw out a number. I don't think it's going to be that much, but Lily Pulitzer is a good brand. And this is another vintage. I want to show you guys the tags just so you can kind of get an idea of like vintage clothing tags if you're not familiar. Another thing I look for with vintage dresses is the zippers. So usually the zippers, I've noticed, are just kind of thin and dainty compared to like a zipper you'd find on a dress today. This is another plus size. I don't know, maybe, I want to say 70s, but I just feel like I'm wrong on that. I don't know. you would think with as much vintage as I find, I would be way better at dating it, but I'm not always, you know. Some of the decade styles just kind of blend together more than you'd think. This is also another vintage dress. This is probably one of my, actually I don't want to say one of my, this is probably my favorite vintage dress. I do think this is 60s. Or maybe, when I think of like a 70s dress, I think of a maxi dress. So I don't know. I'll list it 60s/70s on Etsy. Really beautiful maxi dress in really great condition for its age. I'm whipping through these pretty quickly. I'm impressed. This is a Toad & Co. very long cardigan. It's not a cardigan. It's a tunic vest. So Toad & Co., formerly Horny Toad, has a really good following on eBay. Toad & Co. is their newer label. I believe I'm getting this right. Toad & Co., Horny Toad, and I think they're the same company. I think I'm going to list this one around like 30 or 40 because this is really nice. I feel like it's wool. I'll find out. Find out in a minute. This is their older label, which really isn't even that old. Horny Toad. So regardless of the fact that this is like their older label, or at least that's what I'm under the assumption of, Horny Toad, this label, still has a really good following on eBay. This is just a really simple dress. I'll probably list it around 20 bucks. And another Toad & Co. This is just a cute little dress. I'm probably gonna list this around 25. This is my first time finding this brand, M by Magashoni. Am I saying that right? Magashoni. M Magashoni is like their lower line, but regardless, it's a good brand to find. It's just a really cute little comfy sweater blazer type thing. This has got to be 60s. It's gotta be 60s. It's just gotta be. It's a kind of like drop waist dress. Every time I see a drop waist dress, I'm always like, please be from the 1920s. And I knew finding this one that it wasn't because of the material, but a girl can dream. It's just, look at the tag, guys. Sunshine Alley. Like that just, I wasn't born until 1994 and this brings back memories somehow. So I think I'm probably gonna list that one around 50. I think it will do well on Etsy. This is a vintage purse with really pretty beadwork, and this one's actually new. Not too old, but regardless, it's new, and this really dainty long chain is really in style right now. I actually just bought a Circus by Sam Edelman purse that was similar to this. So I think I'm gonna list this one around $30. And this, I probably could have left this one behind. I don't think I'm gonna get too much for it, maybe like 15 bucks. But it's a Lucky brand tote, and I really just like this like textile type texture to it. These are Stuart Weitzman loafers. Their size, if I can get this to show, they're size 11, which is really bueno. And these remind me of like a Prada loafer, but they're Stuart Weitzman. And I didn't notice, but there's like fingerprint marks that I really hope these come off, because otherwise these would be in pretty great condition. So yeah, that's my haul. It's kind of, I say this a lot, but it's kind of like an eclectic haul. And by eclectic, I just mean there's a mix match of styles. So I try to be picky with my styles, even if something is name brand, but when it comes to vintage and stuff, if there's a piece that just speaks to me, I just have to bring it home. So yeah, it's definitely an eclectic haul, but I'm happy with it. If I would have had the time to go through the jeans, I'm sure I would have found some nice denim, but I didn't have time for that because my kids were freaking out. My anxiety clock was ticking. So yeah, so that's all I have to show you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you guys aren't subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button because I try to do videos weekly. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm going to leave a link down below to my Instagram. I post on Instagram like pretty much daily for the most part. And I'm more likely to reply over on Instagram just because it's more user-friendly to reply to all of the comments. So yeah, I've done too much talking with my kids today. So anyways, as always, happy selling.